Okay, third thing that you're going to need to do to overcome your temptation. And this one's going to sound a little weird, so bear with me for a minute. Worship your way out of it. One of my favorite quotes in the context of addictions in general comes from a book called Redemption by one of my former pastors, Mike Wilkerson. In his book, talking about the nature of our addiction, he says this: "You worshiped your way into this mess. Now you are going to worship your way out of it." I love this quote and this truth about worship. I've talked at length about this idea in a previous video. I'll link it up below. Porn is not your problem. So look in the notes if you want to explore this idea further. But for now, let's discuss it in brief. How does your temptations and worship relate together? Well, let's take a look at James chapter 1, starting in verse 13, to get a little better view of how these things work together. Starting in verse 13 of James chapter 1, James writes this: "When tempted, no one should say, 'God is tempting me.' For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. Don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows." Temptation is born on the stage of our circumstances, but it is conceived in the womb of our desires. Let me say that again for the kids in the back. Temptation is born on the stage of our circumstances, but it is conceived in the womb of our desires. So the first thing I want you to see here in this passage from James is that God is not the one tempting you. And two, we see that we are dragged away by our own evil desire, which leads us through our temptation to its final destination of sin and ultimately death. So desire is the key word in this third point that I'm making in terms of avoiding or overcoming your temptations. What we want most, our desires, is typically what dictates our decisions. So biblically speaking, desires could be restated as worship. And worship is where we place our hopes and fears and expectations, desires, etc. Your temptations come when you look to sexual acting out as the satisfaction or the fulfillment of those things that are connected to your hopes, fears, expectations, or desires. What's happening in the moment of temptation is you're being tempted to worship sex instead of God. And what I mean by worshiping your way out of it is that your worship was aimed at sex, and now we want to aim that worship at God. And in doing so, we're entrusting to Him to be the fulfillment of our hopes, to protect us from our fears, to be a part of helping us to understand and for our expectations to be met, for our desires to be satisfied in God. James clearly sees this in the passage that we just read when he gives a warning and an invitation in verses 16 and 17. Listen to how he ends this thought. "Don't be deceived," he says, "by your temptations," we might say, "my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like the shifting shadows," we might put in there our sexual brokenness. So, to make this final point clear, you and I need to worship God and not sex as a way to overcome our temptations. Brother, sister, I want you to win this war against sexual brokenness, porn addiction. I want you to have freedom. In these moments of temptation, you can overcome. God has promised that to you, that He'll give you a way out of these temptations. Hello, friend. Jimmy here. And before I let you go, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the video today. If you found the information in today's video helpful, it is a part of a longer teaching that I did, and you can find the full-length video in the notes below in the description, so click the link there. And also, if you want to go deeper into overcoming your sexual addiction, I've written the 4 pillars of a porn-free life. It's a free checklist guide that I've written in service to you. I want to help. I want you to win. I want you to have victory over this addiction. So if you want that, you can also click below or visit sexaddictedchristian.com and grab your free 4 pillars guide and start your freedom journey today. I'm praying for you. God bless. I hope to see you again on a video real soon.